Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Lady Bell. Today is Sunday, July 21st, 2019. We back at it again. Yes, just in case you lost count, just in case you forgot, we 202 days deep. Just in case you forgot, just in case you lost count, we 202 days deep. Lady Bell and we're back. We had to take a little trip to Cleveland. We made it back home safely. Thank you for the prayers. Thank you for the shout out.
Thank you.
Thank you to everybody that we saw while we was in Cleveland. Thank you for the words of encouragement.
Thank you.
Thank you for the life that you spoke into us. Uncle Mel and Auntie Jen, thank you. You know, it's always a pleasure hanging out with you guys.
We love you, Uncle Mel and Aunt Jen.
Uncle Mel and Auntie Jen married 45 years. They always speak life into us. We always have a good time. We always laughing all the time. Been knowing them ever since we've been married.
Yes.
Shout out to Mr. Mac and Gloria Scott, Mr. G and Lady G.
Yes.
Thank y'all for dinner. Thank y'all for sharing a little bit of your time with us. As y'all going to 46 years of marriage, Matt Scott and Gloria Scott, thank you guys for spending some time with us. Thank y'all for speaking life into us. Thank y'all for speaking encouragement into us.
Yes, we love you guys.
Sunday, July 21st, 2019, 202 days deep, marriage boot camp, recall and review. We still on that recall and review. We're going to be doing it all year long. We're going to be doing recall and review all year long. We're going to be counting the days down all year long. Halfway through this year, on the downside of this year, recall and review. I've been saying it all year. I said it last week, I said the week before then. Gentlemen, sit down and have a conversation with your wife. Have a recall and review with your wife. Real quick, have you and your wife talked about some insurance policies? Real quick, have you and your wife talked about your money issue, your money problem, your money situation? Real quick, have you and your wife talked about where you are health-wise? Have you and your wife talked about your exercise program? Real quick, where y'all at right now, July 21st, 2019? What's your current situation? What pains are you dealing with? What pressures are you dealing with? What problem are you dealing with? Recall and review. That was real quick because we going on, I went home. For y'all that don't know, I got a big family. I got 6 living sisters.
There were 7.
And every time I see my sister, living away from home since you don't see somebody every day. So I haven't seen a lot of my sisters in over a year. And every time I look at them, they're starting to look just like my mama. Don't they look just like my mama?
Yes.
My oldest sister, my next oldest sister. Well, all 6 of them starting to look just like my mama.
You look like Pops.
And I'm starting to look like my daddy. Then I said, man, that DNA ain't no joke. DNA is it's not a joke. Eventually, you're going to start looking like your mama. Eventually, you're going to start looking like your daddy. Recall and review, we're talking about DNA. Eventually, she's going to start acting like her mama. Eventually. DNA, eventually he's going to start acting like his daddy. It's called DNA. Recall and review, just in case you forgot. You might have been washed in the blood, but you still got your daddy's blood in you. I told you all 6 of my sisters started to look just like my mama. It is so scary. Every time I look in the mirror, I'm starting to look like my daddy. So we're going to talk today about DNA. DNA. Now, I told y'all I ain't as smart as Vicky, so I'm going to let her read to y'all exactly what is the scientific definition of DNA. You got
DNA is the short for deoxyribonucleic acid. The nucleic acid that is the genetic material determining the makeup of all living cells and many viruses. It consists of 2 long strands of nucleotides linked together in a structure resembling a ladder twisted into a spiral.
That is the scientific meaning of DNA. Now, layman term, Vicky, read what is DNA.
Your DNA is what makes you uniquely you.
Your DNA is what?
It's what makes you uniquely you.
It makes you uniquely you. Go ahead.
It's that double helix that your genes are made of. DNA strands. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, sometimes called the molecule of life, as almost all organisms have their genetic material confided as DNA.
Let's backtrack for a second here. Your DNA is what makes you uniquely you.
That's right.
Your DNA is what makes you uniquely you. You got it from your daddy. You got it from your mama. Your DNA. When they want to find out if are you the father, they're going to take a DNA test. 99.6% chance you are the father. It all comes from DNA. They connect who you are because of your DNA. They understand who you are because of your DNA. God uniquely made you. You get some of your DNA from your people, but you still gonna be you. See, when we get married, we don't want to deal with our DNA. You better find out who that girl is. You better find out who that dude is. You better find out about their DNA. You better talk to her. You better talk to her mama. You better talk to her daddy. You better talk to her sibling. You better get to know them because she ain't too much different from them. You better talk to that dude's family. You better get to know who that dude is. If you want to know who that dude is, talk to his daddy, talk to his mama, talk to his sibling. They all the same. He's uniquely him, but they all the same. Look at your sibling. Look at your brother. You act just like him. Look at your sister. You act just like them. Look at your mama. You start to act just like her. You start to look just like her. Look at your daddy. You better find out about that DNA. But see, we don't want to deal with DNA. Just like we don't want to do a recall and review. We don't want to have a conversation about life insurance policy. You're going to die tomorrow and leave your wife in a situation. Yeah, you're living in that nice house. You're living in that nice house. You driving them nice cars. You got on them nice clothes, but you ain't got no life insurance policy. You don't want to do a recall and review because you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to do a recall and review. Just like you don't want to deal with DNA. You don't want to sit down and find out who she is before you get married. So you know why don't want to deal with DNA? DNA. Do not ask. I'm not even going to ask her. DNA. You did not ask. You don't want to ask the hard questions. You don't want to deal with the hard questions. You did not ask the hard question. DNA. Do not ask. You don't want to ask. Ask. Deal with the DNA, baby. You got to deal with that DNA. But you do not want to ask. You did not ask. You know that stuff, the problems you're dealing with now? That pain you're dealing with now? That pressure you're dealing with now? It was there before you said I do. You saw it, but you refused to. You did not ask. You saw it. You talked to your dudes about it. Man, she this, and that. And she this, and that. But you were scared to ask her. You did not ask. You talked to your girlfriends about it, but you did not go back to them. You did not ask. You do not ask. You're still scared to ask. You don't want to have a recall and review today. You do not want to have a recall and review today. Sunday, July 21st, 2019. 202 days deep. You still don't want to have a recall and review. You still don't want to deal with your DNA. You still do not want to ask. We've been talking about recall and review all year long. Sit down and talk to your wife. Do it about life insurance policy. Sit down and talk to your wife. Do it about your health. Sit down and talk to your wife, dude, about your money. But no, you still do not want to ask. You still did not ask. You don't want to deal with the DNA. You see he's starting to act like his daddy, but you don't want to talk to him because you don't want to deal with it. You see she's starting to act like her mama, but you don't want to talk. You don't want to ask no question. I don't want to deal with it. Let's sweep it under the rug. Let's wait till 2020. Things are going to get better. We got time for it to get better. People don't want to act. People don't want to deal. Recall and review for what? Sit down and talk about what? Talk about your pain. Talk about your problems. Talk about your pressure. Yeah. Hey, after you get done praying, after you get done going to church, I've been saying this for 2 years. After you get done praying, after you get done reading the word, after you get done going to church, after you get done believing, after you get done having faith, you still got to deal with that DNA. You still got to ask some questions. But you do not ask and you did not ask. And here you are, married 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and you still don't want to ask. And the pain is still there. The problems are still there. The pressure is still there because you did not ask and you still don't want to ask. Your DNA, uniquely you. Then we're going to wrap this up. Uniquely you. Be you. Be yourself. Do not conform. Always be a transformer. Always be you. Do not become a clone. Do not let them make you like them. Be you. God uniquely made you, gave you your DNA for you to be you. Do not become a conformer. If you be a transformer, continue to be you. Continue to be raw. Continue to be loud. Continue to keep on doing what you're doing. Continue to be you. Continue to be quiet. Continue to be sweet. Continue to be happy. You got to be you, your DNA. But in the midst of being you, you better find out who she is. In the midst of being you, you better find out who he is. You got to deal with that DNA. You got to deal with that DNA. But hey, are you going to ask? It's never too late to ask. DNA. Some of the problems is because you do not ask. Some of the problem is you did not ask. It's never too late to ask. You're dealing with that DNA, baby. Team Bell. This is our DNA. Always been. Always been. I'm going to say this, I'm going to wrap this up. We saw a young man yesterday while we were still in Cleveland. You know, I always got to go in K&G's and get me a couple outfits. We in K&G's and Vicky's neighbor. And this kid was probably 18 years old, some 27 years ago. Vicky's neighbor. This young man was like 18 years old. He said, man, I know you. I know you and your wife. Do you know me? I said, vaguely I know you. I said, tell me where I know you from. He said, Alder Avenue. I said, okay, so you had to be next door. He said, yeah, I remember. We're talking 27 years ago. He said, I remember when you started dating her. He said, I saw you guys walking in the store from the parking lot. I was sitting in my car with my dude, and I said, there go the guy and the lady that was my neighbors when I was kid. True love do exist. This man have not seen us in 27 years.
Yeah, we were dating.
He have not seen us in 28 years. He said, I've been married and divorced. He said, I want love. So I see love do exist. I do see that love is out there. I said, yeah, young man, but this is 27 years of work, of dealing with pain and pressure and problem. You got to put in the work. It's not just going to come like that. It ain't been 27 years of smiling and laughing and giggling and traveling and having fun. Yeah, we do all that, but we still put in the work. Through the pain, through the problem, through the pressure, we still putting in the work. Thank you, young man, for speaking life in it. You ain't seen us since 27 years. This is our DNA. We ain't got to tell you. Just like the young man said, you can go back 27 years ago, you can go back 25 years ago, but especially when you go back 22 years ago, when we got married and took them vows. Now, before 22 years ago, it was a whole lot of issues. But you go back 22 years ago, you ask anybody about Vicky Bobby, everybody going to tell you the same story. You can go back 22 years ago, they're going to tell you the same story. You can go back 15 years ago, they're going to tell you the same story, Vicky Bobby. You can go back 10 years ago, they're going to tell you the same story. You can go back 5 years ago, they're going to tell you the same story. You can go back yesterday, they're going to tell you the same story. Vicky Bobby Bell, this is our DNA. This is what we do. This is how we live. This is how we act. We don't conform for nobody. We Team Bell, baby. Vicky Bobby, 1 + 1 will always be
1.
2 is bigger, but it's still
1.
1 1,000, but 2.
10,000.
We are. Your DNA. You better ask them hard questions.